Evening, YouTube. Leafs, Flames, in Calgary. Very evenly matched game. I say that like it's a surprise, but it's. They were talking before the game about how the Flames basically had, I think, 5 days off in a row or so between their last game and this game. So they were saying, like, because of the nature of this season and the shortened training camps, no exhibition games, teams are coming in a little rusty and stuff. They said that the Flames having 5 days off in a row where they could just practice, and which teams aren't doing a lot of late during this season because how packed in the games are. That was a really big advantage to Calgary. They would have been rested and they would have been had a lot of time to work things out, sort of thing. So whereas the Leafs had just played a couple games recently against the Oilers, right? So it didn't really matter. I thought Calgary had a little more jump right off the bat, but once the Leafs weathered the first, few minutes of the game, they got right into it, and it was a really entertaining game, a really fast paced game, but a really well played one defensively for the most part. Both teams have a lot of young, good talent on their team, so. And with the way they're calling penalties now, of course, those guys are going to get their chances. It's just a matter of time, right? So there were some primo chances throughout the game, but overall, I thought both teams kind of defended well and stuff. And when they did get the chances, both goalies seemed to be really dialed in. Now for the Leafs, Jack Campbell started, and I'm not sure why, because normally in Leafland, it's their backup goalie gets the second game of a back-to-back situation, right? Whereas this isn't a back-to-back situation. So Freddie played the last game against Edmonton, whenever that was, Friday. But they gave Campbell this first game against Calgary, which is great, which is fine because he's a really good goalie and he had a really good game. So the way it unfolded is the Leafs got on the board first, about 7.5 minutes or so into the game. Came back to Muzzin at the point. He just floated one in, and not long after he shot it, whoever the Flame was that was coming out to try and block the shot, I think it went off his top of his leg or his arm or something like that, and changed direction and went perfect top shelf on glove side on Markstrom, and he didn't even react with the change of direction there. So that was 1-0 Leafs, and I think that was Muzzin's first goal of the season. So it's always nice when players get their first goal of the season. It's a monkey off the back, right? That was the way the first period would end. Second period, there were 2 goals. The teams would trade goals. Leafs were on the board first. The Flames were on the board first about 13 minutes in almost. Monahan scored for Calgary when there was a bit of a scramble down low. Campbell made a couple really good saves, but as he was scrambling around in the crease, Monahan banked it in off of his ass and behind him and into the net. So kind of a cheap goal, but they all count, right? And then just with about half minute to go in the period with the Leafs on the power play, it went down low and there were some chances, and Simmons was kind of cruising right in the crease to the left of Markstrom, and whoever was in the corner got him the puck, and he knew he had Matthews behind him on the other side of the net, so he tried to do like a backwards between his legs pass to Matthews through the crease, except he ended up hitting his own skate with the puck, which then deflected into the net. And that was big because that was, I believe, his 500th point of his career and his first goal as a Maple Leaf. So that was a really good goal also for Simmons to get. And you could tell, just like when Thornton got his first goal a few games ago, whenever that was, when Simmons got his, everybody was super pumped, right? So that was fun to see. And then in the third period, the teams would trade goals again. Oh, excuse me. I haven't had my rock star tonight, so I'm kind of lagging here. How did it go? Last goal of the game for the Leafs, it was Matthews. It was just kind of like a hard pass. He was right in front of the net, and he was kind of battling with the Calgary defenseman, and he was kind of passing him in front of the crease, and the pass came to him, or maybe it was half of a shot. It was one of those, you can't tell if it's a shot or a pass, or a shot that's going for a tip or something, right? And Matthews took a swipe at it, but missed it with his stick. It bounced, or kind of glanced off his skate, and then hit the Calgary defenseman's skate, and then bounced in. Um, and that was a 3-1 lead at the time. The idiot Kachuk would score with 6.5 minutes left. I'm not even going to discuss it because I hate his guts. And it was 3-2. Leafs did a pretty good job of weathering the storm late in the game. Calgary did get their chances, but Campbell was really good. And unfortunately, he hurt himself at the end there. It was he kicked out the left pad to make a really good save, and you could tell that after he did it, he stayed down in the butterfly and just kind of inched his way across the crease while he was down on the ice. And then all through the last few minutes of the game, when Calgary was pressing, when the play wasn't in their end, you could see him stretching and working it out, and he was hobbling around a lot. So hopefully it's just a little tweak or something, and it's nothing major. Because having a good backup goalie is a real key for success in the NHL. So, and from everything I've heard, he's such a really good guy and a good teammate, right? So you just want to see him do well and get in there and get points for the Leafs when he's called upon. So, but we'll see more about that when it happens. Other injury notes: Matthews didn't play against Edmonton the last game because he had upper body soreness. So they didn't really ever tell what it was or whatever. And I think he was still kind of struggling because throughout the whole start of the season, even though he hasn't got a lot of points yet, he's just been everywhere. He's getting tons of chances. They're just not going in with the frequency that they should. And he just stands out as dominant. The way he carries the puck on a string and just kind of does what he wants. Tonight against Calgary, he wasn't really like that. He obviously got the goal and stuff, but he wasn't his usual self. So I think he still was struggling to some degree with whatever's wrong with him. But hopefully a day of rest tomorrow. Back at it on Tuesday, and we'll see if he is any better. Now, the Leafs' victory tonight, obviously you can tell their 3 goals were all kind of deflections or in-off skates, that sort of thing. They were not pretty. This wasn't the high-flying, tape-to-tape, creative, holy shit, did you just see that kind of Leafs goals? They were all ugly kind of goals. Simmons got called for boarding a guy in the game. This was more of a gritty game, and that's kind of maybe the game they have to be able to play against a team like Calgary, who can bring a bit more physicality, and they have dirty players like Kachuk, right? So the Leafs need to be able to put up with that and fight back against that, right? So it was encouraging to see them score those types of goals, put up a fight against the Flames, and come out of there with 2 points. And after the game, I think Brian Burke and the guys on the panel were saying, the Leafs kind of negated Calgary's physical play with how good they did, or how well they did with managing the puck and clean entries out of the zone, and the speed with which they did it. So they didn't really allow Calgary to get in and establish a forecheck and get taken bodies, right? So, and that being said, the Leafs were fast in some areas, but they weren't in others. That's the one thing I've noticed with this new Leaf team, is that they've been, one of their big trademarks over the last number of years has been their team speed. And I think with the addition of some heavier bodies and stuff like that, their team speed has decreased overall. They still have a lot of fast players, but they also have some guys that aren't so fast and are heavier. So it's more of a mix now. So they're not always the high-flying Leafs, But I think that's okay, because obviously they're 5-2, and they should have won the first game against Edmonton. And even the Ottawa game that unraveled, they should have won that one too. They were the better team for all but 4 minutes of the game. So I think it's a really good mix, and it's a really good kind of equation they've got going on there with the mix of guys. So Marner was their best player tonight by far, and I thought he had a slow first couple of games, even though I think he got some points. But with each game, he just starts. He's getting better and better and better, and he's doing amazing things, and he's just been on fire. So him and Matthews have obviously both been good this season. Tonight they had Simmons out with, I think, Engvall and Mikheyev, I think, was it? That line looked really good. Mikheyev, I thought, had a really strong game. He's just so fast, especially on the penalty kill. He seems to be able to generate these chances for himself when they're short a man. And on the D, the whole core looked solid. Justin Hall had a really good game. Riley had 3 assists. He always has a good game for the most part, you know. So it was just a really good team effort by the Leafs, and I love to see them beat Calgary because I hate their guts. I hate their guts. I used to not mind Calgary. They were kind of like one of those teams that's like, yeah, you know, whatever. But with some of the players they've got now, especially Kachuk, I just can't stand them, and I just want them to meet with failure and misery at every turn in the season, right? There's just teams like that you hate, and they are now one of them. So, and that makes things really interesting because I hate most of the Canadian teams, to be honest. Montreal and Ottawa, obviously, I hate because they're big rivals with the Leafs. The Canucks I've hated for years after their whole Stanley Cup whining debacle against the Bruins years ago, and then the whole city rioted when they lost. Just turned me off of them for good. I used to love the Canucks too back in the day when they had the nice black, red, and gold and the skate logo and stuff. I loved them back then. But now I can't stand them. The Jets can't stand. I might be missing somebody, but maybe not. Yeah, so it's like it makes the whole North Division setup so much more intriguing this year because they all play each other 9 or 10 times, and so you've got, and most of these teams I hate, so it just every game you're just like, gah, right? You just want the Leafs to run amok all over these guys and leave them feeling real bad about themselves, right? but that's my theory, is that you're not a true fan of a sport or a specific team in a sport if you don't have equal amounts of hatred for some other franchises, right, that are your rivals. So if you don't have that hatred, you're not a true fan. So anyways, that is all for now. Good win against Calgary tonight. Hopefully Campbell's okay. And we will see in a couple nights' time how they fare in round 2 against the Flames. Have a good one.